I find it very funny that a lot of times you see these adaptations that come out and people just don't really like them, But we see a lot of times that adaptations can be good. Sometimes a book is adapted into a movie. Sometimes, manga is adapted into anime. And sometimes it's a full-blown movie. And other times it could be as something as a video game could even be made into a TV series or a movie as well. But it's interesting because with the most recent, like a lot of stuff that's been coming out a lot within the last few years that have been adaptations of beloved franchises, people haven't been taking to it. And especially when it's something that people hold near and dear to them, you sit there and go, oh, nostalgia. I always hear all the time that how nostalgia is like this evil thing. Like, God forbid that I really enjoy something that I grew up with. And here you are, you're making something that's basically like, it's as if you're making fun of me for enjoying it, right? That's kind of like the way that I see a lot of these adaptations. So, whenever a Netflix adaptation comes out, people are going to expect it to suck. It's been a big thing, and I've also seen this quite a bit, is that I've heard a lot of people have been watching, Velma. And I'm not really trying to make this video about Velma. It's actually more so about Cowboy Bebop. But I do want to kind of mention, like, I saw the clips that I needed to online for me to say, I'm not watching this. It's bad. Like, it's bad just from the clips. And I said the same thing for Cowboy Bebop. And it's interesting, too, because I hate watched the first 2 episodes of Thundercats Roar. And, of course, you guys saw my epically rant for that. That's probably one of my more epic rants that I've ever had out of it, where I pretty much had to go through a masochist amount of torture to watch those 2 episodes. And which is why a lot of you have been asking me, hey, will you watch Thundercats 2011 and review that? Yes, I do want to do some more reviews on this channel and maybe talk about something with that might have to do with either Thundercats. I kind of want to do Godzilla reviews again, and I want to talk about the franchises that I love. If you guys want to hear my perspective, that's pretty much what people do on YouTube, right? Like, we're giving off our own opinion. Well, like I said, I hate watch Thundercats Roar. And I powered through. I don't know why I watched it. It was Tiger King. That was awful. And, but I kind of got to this point where, like, if I see something is going to be really bad, why am I going to hate watch it? Why? Well, you're not really a fan if you don't watch it. No, if you get to the point where you're like, I'm not going to watch it, don't force me to sit through it, right? And that's kind of like my basis on that. And I'm also a big proponent of source material. If it's something that's really good, it should absolutely respect the source material. And I don't feel that way when it came down to Cowboy Bebop. And I've given my opinions on that before, right? I've already said I wasn't going to watch Cowboy Bebop. I would rather watch the anime. Like, I'm not going to watch the Netflix adaptation. I don't want what I really, really enjoyed out of those 26 episodes and the movie to be ruined by either feels like a cheap imitation or is actively trying to, like, make fun of it in a way, right? And I didn't really care for that. So, like, in all the clips that I saw, I was like, I'm not watching it. Well, Shinichiro Watanabe, who created the anime Cowboy Bebop, actually said that he's not watching it either, or at least he tried, right? At least he tried. So take a look at this. From The Escapist, Cowboy Bebop creator couldn't stand to watch more than one scene of the Netflix version. And I'm bringing these. I actually have 2 articles that I want to read, and one seems to skew more. The reason why I was trying to bring up like a more of a balanced approach in as far as opinions, because I know some people are going to go like, well, if you don't like this, like, why do you have to stand for something that, like, I already enjoyed and I hated the adaptation? Like, it's immediate, like, it's almost like this cynical approach to existing fans. With Star Wars, right? If you're a Star Wars fan, most likely you didn't like the sequel trilogy, right? If you were truly a Star Wars fan, I honestly feel. But there are people who did like it. and that's perfectly fine. It's up to them. They can like it and enjoy it all they want. I really felt that it didn't really follow Star Wars the way that I needed it to. It didn't make me. It made me less of a. It could almost feel like it made me feel like less of a Star Wars fan, because it's like, why am I going to sit through? Why do I want to sit through more movies and TV shows, right? But with this, I wanted to bring up this article. Shinichiro Watanabe has a storied career in animation as the director of Macross Plus, Cowboy Bebop, and Samurai Champloo, among many other projects. Forbes recently interviewed the influential creator for a profile touching especially on Cowboy Bebop. Naturally, the conversation eventually turned to the Netflix live-action version of Cowboy Bebop, and creator Shinichiro Watanabe did not seem to like it. He stopped watching it after the opening scene. In fact, he outright said it could not really be described as being Cowboy Bebop. There you go, right from the creator's mouth. The Netflix show is not Cowboy Bebop. That's right from the creator's mouth. Now, you could say what you want, right? Like, and that's the reason why I brought up this article, and I wanted to bring up the other article about it, because it's interesting to read it this way. For the new Netflix live adaptation, they sent me a video to review and check, he explained. It started with a scene as in a casino, which made it very tough for me to continue. I stopped there and saw only the opening scene. It was clearly not Cowboy Bebop, and I realized at that point that if I wasn't involved, it would not be Cowboy Bebop. I felt maybe it should not have done this, although the value of the original anime is somehow far higher now. So what he's basically saying is, because remember something, Cowboy Bebop could have gone longer than 26 episodes. It could have. But it didn't, right? It only went as far as it did because, he pretty much was able to wrap up the story in the time frame that he did. The anime was fantastic. And the movie, of course, has to fit in between a couple of episodes, around episode 23 and 24, somewhere around there, so that this way that it could still fit within the continuity, because the final episode ends the story. So the Netflix adaptation did its own take, and it wasn't really good, and I couldn't. Just the clips alone made my stomach turn. And it's funny, too, because the exact scene that he's talking about is one of the scenes that I kind of was like, yeah, I can kind of see where he's going with. And he says that last sentence is quite the indirect burn, isn't it? It's illuminating that Shinichiro Watanabe basically said he has nothing to do with the live-action version of Cowboy Bebop, since the creator was credited as a consultant on the series. But on that same note, he had offered a disclaimer back in 2019 saying the other things. I read the initial concept and provided my opinions. I'm not sure if they will be reflected in the final product. In any case, Sunrise owns the IP, so Watanabe never had any legal ownership of the show. And Netflix canceled the show after one season, and it's hard to claim that Watanabe is just resistant to change. Nonetheless, the show has some defenders. So this is the reason why I wanted to bring this article up, was because this article is clearly in favor of the Netflix adaptation. It's quite literally it's written in a way that they want to defend it, right? But it was universally panned. The Velma show is universally panned, and the crazy thing is that fortunately the Netflix adaptation, less people watched it. People are apparently watching the Velma show, and this is kind of my point why I'm not making a Velma video. I'm making a video about Cowboy Bebop, because I already talked about this on the channel. And I want to say, don't hate watch these things. Don't give them reason to make another season. Don't give them reason to make more episodes if it's that bad. If you don't, and clearly, okay, yes, there are going to be people who are going to defend any changes made. They finally turned the one character that everybody loved into this, and therefore I'm going to defend it to the end. And all the people that love that character are all going, no, you changed one of my favorite characters, and now you completely changed it to the point where I don't even recognize that character anymore. No, it's horrible. And yet there are going to be these staunch defenders that are just going to defend the radical change made to that character. I care about the source material, right? And it's not just about Cowboy Bebop; it's about other franchises as well. And that's kind of why I brought this up. So I wanted to bring up another article, and that this is the reason why is because you've got one article that kind of defends it and goes, well, Sunrise owns the IP, so they can do whatever they want. And then you have this article that is clearly in the favor of the creator, Shinichiro Watanabe. And they pretty much say the same thing, right? In other words, it's coming along the same lines. And I found it interesting because, he says the same thing here. He says, I stopped there and only saw the opening scene. It was clearly not Cowboy Bebop. And you realize that the anime was much better, right? So not only did Watanabe share his distaste for Netflix adaptation, but he also opened up about his general opposition to the Hollywood machine. So this was the interesting part of this article. Whereas, because it's part of the Forbes interview with him, whereas The Escapist is clearly in favor of the Hollywood machine, this website here, Bounding into Comics, is not. So it says, back on the Animatrix, I first got it to work with people in Hollywood, said the director, reflecting on his short on his short for the animated Matrix anthology kid story. Working with those kinds of people is always difficult. This is because at the beginning they always promised they promised me that I could do whatever I want, but that's just lip service. Actually, I had a big altercation with a Hollywood producer on the Animatrix, Watanabe recounted. He would always come to me with these stupid requests just so he can identify his own contribution. As the requests were stupid and made no sense, I rejected all of them. Unfortunately, I couldn't win in this situation, so I had to concede on some of these things. I learned from this bitter experience, though. For subsequent projects, I became smarter at handling people who wanted to interfere. In that, I would send back very small corrections or adjustments just before the deadline. That tended to work. In Japan, you sometimes get producers that are similar to American ones. You also sometimes find good producers in America. And that you got to remember something. He's in Japan. And Japanese typically don't, like when they voice their opinions, it's usually very straightforward. And we could be getting something that might be, there might be a language barrier here in translation. So the original producer on the Animatrix was a really good guy. He understood my work and didn't give me stupid requests. However, he had to leave due to family issues. But his successor, called Spencer Lamb, wow, calls him out by name, was awful. So many requests. Change this, change that. It's very frustrating. And if these requests were coming from the Wachowskis, I could at least respect that as they came up with the Matrix. So who was the new producer compared to that? He explained that he was the gatekeeper to the Wachowskis, and unless he could be convinced, he wouldn't bring my work to them. In handling the situation, Watanabe said, when I went to Los Angeles for the recording sessions, I told the team that if I saw the producer, I would punch him in the face. Wow. The producer ended up not coming to recordings, which is unheard of. Yeah. Every producer, every showrunner, every producer on a TV show is in the voice recordings. And I do know that, from people in the industry. They say, yeah, you go into the voice recordings because you want to see how the show is coming out, right? So, of course, Watanabe is far from the first Japanese creator to express massive disappointment at the West's handling of their creations. And this is rather interesting. Most notable are creators such as the original Dragon Ball creator, I don't want to mispronounce that word, Akira Toriyama, he is legendary, right? Not only did he create Dragon Ball, he created Chrono Trigger. So, who have after witnessing the James Wong disaster, that was Dragon Ball Evolution, felt the need to produce Dragon Ball Super in order to undo the damage the live-action outing did to his legacy. So imagine that. Imagine your creation is so bad and you feel that you've left your mark on it, you moved on to other titles, you moved on to other projects, and they make a live-action adaptation or whatever of something that you create, and it's so bad that you have to go back and make something better. At least something came out of it, right? I've heard a lot of people love Dragon Ball Super. Unfortunately, I've not seen it, Dragon Ball Super, so I'm not going to comment on that. I do need to actually sit down and watch Dragon Ball Super. I know I have to watch Thundercats, 2011 and the 1985 show over again, so I can give you guys reviews on that too. But it's interesting because think about it. We actually have these creators have made the manga or made the anime or were, had their hands in these things that they've created and people loved and people cherished. And then Hollywood comes along and ruins your favorite franchise, ruins your favorite TV show or movie, and does a remake or a reboot or whatever. And it's so bad that, they all of a sudden what they do is they hide behind these things. So what I'm starting to see now is the Hollywood machine has gotten smart. What they've realized is they can capitalize by changing the source material enough by, let's say, changing a character, what they look like, changing how a character dresses, changing how a character, who would be properly cast for the role. For whatever reason, right? Really, and then what they'll do is they'll hide behind it. So let's say if they change, let's say if they made Gohan a girl, right, in a next Dragon Ball adaptation, and Akira Toriyama is like, no, Gohan is a boy. What you would see is, Hollywood would go, well, you shouldn't be mad at something like that, and it's like, no, you don't understand. That's not the character. Right? We're respecting the source material. They're changing the source material for those reasons. And Hollywood goes off and does this, not because they want to create something good. It's because they want to hide behind the changes that they make as their shield so that they can call you names, call you every name in the book when you're sitting there going, but that's not the source material. That's not what we have here. And it's interesting because, for Watanabe to come out and say this about Cowboy Bebop, for Akira Toriyama to say that he couldn't stand Dragon Ball Evolution, Shigeru Miyamoto says that he didn't like the Super Mario Brothers movie. Now that's one of those where it's so bad you can laugh, it's watchably laughable. You can watch it and laugh at it, right? These shows are offensively bad, and what happens is a lot of these shows or TV shows or movies, you get these stands on Tumblr and Twitter that will attack you and call you names. And I think it's wrong. I absolutely think it's wrong. But because at the end of the day, if we love these franchises, we should be defending the source material for that matter. Because we're the ones who have been watching it, caring for it, purchasing the merchandise, and got excited because they were making a movie about or a TV show about our favorite, franchise, and watching Hollywood ruin it. Of course, we're going to be defensive about it because we almost feel like we're ownership with it. But here to have the creator chiming in as well is a welcome, is very welcoming. But I want you guys think about all this. Do you think that Watanabe was right in saying what he said, or are you one of those folks who would actively defend, terrible adaptations? And I'm saying that because I know that there are going to be people who are going to be in the comments and saying, yeah, they love the show, but no, it was bad, and the creator said it was bad too. So, of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video and subscribe. Check out my other videos as well. I've got much more coming down the pipeline for this channel, so stay tuned for all of that. And as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.